The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: real property management focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, we do all the work. You get all the credit. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
Hi, and thank you so much for joining Chit Chat with Char. My name is Charmaine, and our mission here at Chit Chat with Char is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate. Our show is made possible by The Difference and all of our sponsors. And today I have the distinct honor of speaking with Ms. Rosalind Rayford, who is the Executive Director for Lip Gloss for Love. So without further ado, Ms. Rosalind, please join us.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. So tell us a little bit about Lip Gloss for Love and how you got started and where we're going with this organization.
Super. So Lip Gloss for Love is a nonprofit 501c3 here in sunny South Dallas, South Fair Park communities. And Charmaine, our mission is to educate, raise awareness, and teach prevention of domestic violence as we empower individuals and families to talk about it in their families, community, and society. Our pitch point is actually educating teens about teen dating violence. Lip Gloss for Love was actually founded. I did some research, went into 3 schools here in the southern sector of Dallas and just kind of did some observation with the physical contact and verbal communication with our students in schools. And it was overwhelming how I saw a lot of reality television playing out right before my eyes, because this is what has consumed our children. And I believe that they believe this is the way relationships are supposed to go. And I just saw a lot of unhealthy physical contact, a lot of unhealthy physical conversation. And I was like, this is where we need to be. And so February of 2015, I founded Lip Gloss for Love, and our mission is to definitely educate.
I love that. I love that. So it's interesting that you're looking at it from a teen perspective, because it's normally not talked about or discussed so early. Like domestic violence, we see it come out in adults, but to really identify it as a teen, I mean, that's awesome. What made you even look in that area or that direction?
Well, growing up, my background being directly impacted by family violence, coming through college, experiencing personally an abusive relationship in college, hoping we as women, we have this hope that we can change the world through love, whether it's violence or rejection. You know, I can love it through to make it right. And I just realized we need to be educated. It's an uncomfortable, taboo, embarrassing conversation, but we have to have these conversations. And what is so interesting, you said, well, it normally doesn't prevail in teens, it comes out as adults. Well, it comes out as adults because that's when it becomes overwhelming to where, okay, I got to get help. But our teens experience is 3 in 1 females and 1 in 5 males that have been impacted by partner abuse.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you said 1 in 5 males.
1 in 5.
We're experiencing seeing that more and more on the rise as well, where males are being affected by domestic violence.
Absolutely. And I personally believe the numbers are greater. Is just, of course, that men don't report.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so why do you think the men don't report? What is your take on it?
Well, their ego. It's embarrassing on both parts. And it's just something that it's not talked about.
Yeah.
It's just not talked about.
It's not talked about, and it's not comfortable to talk about it.
At all.
You
At
know,
all. I preference when I'm speaking to other adults that have experienced domestic violence. If you understand your healing when you can talk about it and be okay, you're not extremely broken. But if you feel that those cracks coming in, let's get some help, because we feel like because we're out of the space we're healed, but if we come back into that space and connect to it, we have a lot of triggers.
So with domestic violence, and I haven't done a lot of research, not nearly as much as I'm sure you have, but I have been impacted, by domestic violence personally, and within my family. So I just wondered, what where do you think it stems from? I've heard some people say anger. Where does excuse me, it stem from, and what in your research have you found?
Well, it stems from control.
Mm,
When people feel that there's a lack of control, there is unhealthy social emotional abilities. And when that happens, you feel like you have to control another person. Charmaine, we tell our young men growing up as early as 9 months old, suck it up, be a big boy, don't cry. Boys don't cry, men don't cry. And then in their teenage life, into their adult life, all those tears and frustration and anger that they had to bottle up because they had to be a big boy, it comes out. And it comes out in anger, and it comes out in violence, because we didn't teach our boys to properly place their emotions and how to deal with them.
and letting them know that it is okay to have emotion.
It is okay to have emotions. That makes a healthy man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when my boys were coming up, I would always tell them it's okay to be mad. Go be mad over there and then come back when you have some sense.
Absolutely.
Like it's okay to have those emotions and feelings, but go do that over there and then come back and we can talk to each other, like we have sense. So
Absolutely.
it's overwhelming to think that to see it as domestic violence as it relates to teens.
Yeah.
Because we don't put that, I don't know what we coin it as. When we're seeing it, it's domestic violence. But when we're seeing it in teenagers, we don't call it domestic violence.
Well, there's a phrase, intimate partner violence.
Okay.
And so I guess it's a softer way to say domestic violence, or there is more impact in intimate partner violence because it includes the two, where the domestic violence can be you and a roommate, things of that sort. But the intimate partner violence is when you and the other person are in an intimate relationship. I remember, and this is so unfortunate, that there was a girl and boy in high school. Girl hit boy, boy hit girl back, boy loses his scholarship to college.
Wow.
Because now you have that on your criminal record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I
Just
mean,
that
those are
quick.
things that you don't even think about. Like what kind of punishment did the girl receive? Do you know?
None. No punishment. No punishment.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And do we think that's because of society and the way that we always seem to think that the male is the aggressor? So,
Yes, yes, and it is so interesting that you say that, because I'm reading a couple of books for a certification in domestic violence, and that's just what society has planted in our minds. Because if a woman slaps a man, we'll laugh, but
mm,
if a man slaps a woman, he's the worst thing that God created.
It's egregious. We need to
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something. So, what are some of the stats out there?
Well, looking at the stats, as I stated, it's 1 in 3. And I don't want to quote anything wrong, so just
Right.
give me a second. In the meantime, if we can do something and come right back to that, so
Yeah,
I
no
don't give you
problem.
any wrong
Listen,
information.
we'll be going for a break here shortly. So at that point, you can look that up. And didn't mean to put you on the spot
No,
there,
no,
but
no, no.
I just thought that it was really interesting, just thinking about some of the things that society has put in place when it relates to domestic violence, and how only women can be affected by it, but actually there's 1 in 5 men that are being affected by it. And the other thing is that we think that it's underreported because of male ego, the embarrassment, and all of that. So that those are really, really good points to really talk about. Now, I'm interested to know, um, in the men that have reported, and you probably don't even know this, but in the men that have reported, was it a situation where it was a mild case, or was it something so impactful that they had to report it?
Well, it's so impactful that it had to be reported. There was, I'm assuming that it was probably some physical harm. And we're speaking of teens when we give those numbers: 1 in 4, 1 in 3 female, 1 in 5. These are high schools.
Mm-hmm.
And each platform will give you a different research stat.
Right.
So as I pulled here from Teen Dating Violence Awareness, Teens Against Dating Violence, we have nearly 1 in 11 females, approximately, in 14 male high school students report they've experienced physical violence in the last year. That's just what was reported.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's just what was reported.
I'm wondering, have those stats gone up with COVID and with all of the death and just all the unknown that people are feeling in this time? I'm wondering, are those numbers increasing?
Absolutely, Charmaine, they've increased because where our freedom was our outlet, our freedom was our self-care.
Right.
And then we really got to see the person that we were in a relationship with. We really
Mm,
got to see that person more in a 24-hour, 48-hour, 72-hour setting, to where you go to work, I go to work, we come back, and we got a break from each other, where the pandemic shut us down to where we had to be together around the clock. And so we got
right.
to learn a little bit more about the persons that we were living with. And
Mm,
then, not to mention the exposure that our young children um, witnessed, because normally they're at school and now they see what happens during the day when they're not at school. And we'll have, our numbers will shoot out the roof about our social emotional um, disturbances, as well as the mental abuse that our children experience by witnessing, whether it was through they heard it from another room or they saw it directly, how these babies were impacted. So the
wow.
children that never liked to go to school, now they want to go to school because, oh, this is what happens when I'm at home, when I'm not at
Right.
home.
Right. That, oh, I mean, just the thought of it, I'm just thinking about, my own personal experiences and how they weren't nearly as severe as I've read and seen and heard about.
Yeah.
But just the impact on it itself is something that, people shouldn't have to go through, but then understanding that there is help out there. And I think the education, like you said, is where we lack, and where there's a deficit. And after we come back from break, I want to get into the details of what we can do to help. But until then, I just want to really just hone in on the fact that domestic violence does exist. There is something that can be done about it,
Yes.
and just helping people to understand that there is help.
There is help
out there. And we'll talk more about what other resources are available after our next break.
All righty.
All right.
You are watching Chit Chat with Char, hosted by Charmaine Byers and powered by The Difference, the voice of small businesses and the communities they serve. Today's show is made possible by the following small business partners: Power on Utilities, Texas Best Utility Concierge Service, The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance, and by WeatherTech General Contracting, specializing in high-end remodeling, roof repair, and commercial build-outs for more than 10 years. And now back to the show.
All right. So we've talked about a lot, in this first segment here. So we've talked about some stats. We've talked about the fact that teen violence does exist, or teen domestic violence does exist. Let's talk now about some of the resources that are available for individuals. I mean, not only teens, but whoever may be experiencing domestic violence. Well, before we get into the resources, let's talk about identifying domestic violence, some of the things, because some people may, or especially teens, may be in a domestic violence situation and not even realize that it's domestic violence. So talk about some of the ideas or features, I don't even want to call them features, but of domestic violence, signs.
Yes. So, Charmaine, the first thing that you'll probably recognize but ignore is isolation. Because what we say as parents when our children become teens, oh, they're a teenager now. They don't want to be bothered with anybody. They're closed in their room. They're on their phones. That's one of the most unhealthiest situations. That should never be like a end all. They're a teenager. They're just isolated in their room. It's okay. They'll be out in a minute. No. Mm-hmm. When their friends change. Oh, yeah, you used to hang out with 5 of your girlfriends. Now you're just hanging out with 2. Then it becomes 1. Then it becomes, oh, you're just hanging out with your boyfriend. The change in their disposition, their language. We used to have a loving, close relationship, mom and daughter or mom and son. And now they're snapping all the time. They're sad. You can see depression setting in. That has a lot to do with the isolation and the verbal abuse that are 2 of the most upfront signs of domestic violence.
Okay.
And so I know that you talked about earlier how, and I wanted to touch this, how it's amazing that we start with our teens. Well, we want to be more proactive than reactive. Because if we can save a teen, we can save an adult.
Yeah.
Because that teen will become an adult, if this violence don't take them out of here. And so understanding that isolation and the verbal abuse, those 2 will start very subtle. If they're very anxious, the nerve, little sister is now getting on their nerves. Little brother is getting on their nerves. Everything ticks them off. Well, that's displacement of anger, because we know anger is secondary. And we didn't teach our kids how to deal with anger, emotions. If you're feeling, some depression, they may not be able to put depression in the language, but we as adults should get a little more educated about depression. I wasn't, so I can freely speak to say, let's get educated about what depression in our young people look like so that we can be more proactive than reactive.
Right.
So not just isolation, verbal, Charmaine, of course, physical. And everybody's looking for physical signs. That is not the worst. It's the emotional and the mental. Also sexual. A lot of times, and this is a sticky subject, so brace yourself. So when our children get into the space where they're being sexually abused, whether it's sexting or it's physical contact of sexual abuse, and we haven't made our children comfortable with having a raw conversation, Charmaine, this is where a lot of our unwanted pregnancies come from.
Okay.
Or unplanned, let me say that, unplanned pregnancies. Society has always stated she is experiencing an unplanned pregnancy. Well, what about our son, that is also experiencing an unplanned pregnancy?
Right.
And a lot of times our children are so afraid to have these conversations, they go and they make their decision to abort. And then they're left with a lifetime of unresolved emotions.
Wow. Wow. That's really, really deep. I
Yeah,
mean, just to think about that, and being able to really just peel back the layers of what this can do, what domestic violence can do, especially to a teen who
absolutely.
does not have that experience, that life experience, or the ability to place their feelings and emotions where they belong.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
it's a really sad place, because when you peel back the layers, you will find that it's so deep. There's a core that has been ignored for possibly years.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just, as you were talking, just thinking about, single parent situations where, the parent can't be around because they're working. And then you have, these teens that are going through things, and it's like, okay, where do they go?
Right,
If they don't have, an outlet or a family member, or something to brace them, to support as they're going through something like this.
right.
Are there any stats that you know of off the hand? You don't have to research, but where suicide comes in
Oh,
line with that?
yes, I was doing some research on that the other night, and the numbers are scary.
Really?
How our and it's peer to peer.
Hmm.
There was an article about a young lady that forced a young guy to die by suicide. We don't say commit suicide anymore. It's death by suicide.
Hmm.
But she put so much pressure on him, and he followed through, and he did. He died by suicide.
That is something. And I mean, these stories, it's like it's shocking really to hear um the female is the aggressor, in the
Oh,
last couple of stories that you've mentioned. And it's
yes,
just, it's shocking really, because we're always under the belief that it's a male, he did this, so let's deal with the male. And
right.
so to hear these two, just the two stories that you've mentioned, and it's been, on the opposite side.
Yeah. And again, realizing growing up, I grew up in Fraser housing development, and you have to, girl, you got to survive.
um, yes.
And I don't
Yes.
say that to say, we got to learn how to fight boys. We have to learn how to fight to get back home from the
Just to make it
recreation center.
home. Wow.
So we are built to we're just built to protect ourselves, not understanding that sometimes we're protecting ourselves against the very thing that is supposed to nurture us.
Mm.
And so, that suicidal mindset is so real. When I tell you, Charmaine, it's real, it's like, take me out of here, because I just can't emotionally handle the roller coaster that I'm going on. Today we're good, and tonight, you're
Yeah.
to me, and I don't even know why. So it's the emotional roller coaster that, catch us off guard to say, I just don't know what to do. And because the conversation is so embarrassing, overwhelming, and taboo, we a lot of times in silence. And
Yeah.
that is the worst.
To actually suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Wow. This is, I mean, it's just making me think of so many different things. And I don't know. I'm just overwhelmed with just thinking about, the impact that this has on teens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just something. So talk to me a little bit about some of the resources that are available out there.
So let me start with there are nonprofit organizations all over the DFW metroplex that helps with teens, more so teen pregnancy, teen resources, after abortion support, anger management, intimate partner violence. You know, there are a lot of organizations give scholarships. They have the Jack and Jill, they have the Young Men's Society and those things. But we did not have many organizations that got down to the nitty gritty about healthy relationships. So there are maternity homes, and I'll give you one amazing maternity home here in South Dallas. And it is Viola's house, and Miss Thana Simmons is the founding executive director, and her program starts from 16 to 21, I believe. And they are absolutely amazing. They take them in, meet them where they are. They provide case management, pregnancy and parenting support, help them complete their education, find employment, trainings. This is the platform that we stand on in the southern sector of Dallas. There is, of course, you have the bigger organizations, Genesis, Family Place, Hope's Door. But speaking of the small ones, and a lot of times these are undisclosed locations. So we want to be very careful in how we promote them so that, it remains a safe place for our moms.
Wow.
So there are, and I'm a book of resources if there's anybody who need those referrals and resources to safe shelter, or just resources, or just somebody to talk to. I just need somebody to listen. I don't want anybody to talk to me. I just want to talk to somebody, and I can provide those resources, upon contact. So coming here in November 2022, Lip Gloss for Love will open our doors to Carol's Cottage, which is a maternity home and outreach services for pregnancy and parenting support, as well as support after abortion.
Wow. And so is that the Carol's Cottage, will that be in the southern sector as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's exciting. That's exciting. So want to talk a little bit about Carol's Cottage. So what made you open up Lip Gloss for Love and expanding into Carol's Cottage?
So listen, when I was growing up, mind you, we lived in Fraser Courts housing development, and it was such a family-oriented community. Somebody was always at our house. They were either on the floor, on the couch, it was just always somebody my mom was nourishing. Either it was a day, a month, 2 weeks, a year, somebody was always coming in and out for that refuge, for some type of rest. And I was not a teen mom, but I had friends that were teen moms, and I saw a lot of times my friends with babies came to spend the night with me, spend a weekend with me, because they had nowhere else to go.
Wow.
And so Carol's Cottage, that's why we're opening Carol's Cottage, to be that additional support here in the southern sector of Dallas for moms who may not need a bed to sleep in, but they just may need that support and the just the essential items such as diapers and wipes and food and parenting classes, anger management classes. They may be court ordered for anger management or community service, and we want to be that resource in the South Dallas Fair Park community that people are comfortable with knocking on the door saying, hey, this is what I need. And understanding that it's not a judgment, it's a non-judgment zone. What do you need? Let's meet you where you are and get you out of these systems.
Got it. So with it being down in the southern sector, are there any limitations as to who can participate at the facility? Is it only limited or to the southern sector, or is it open W-wide?
No, whoever walks in the door.
Okay.
Whoever walks in the door, we will assist them.
That's awesome.
Our assistance, our resources are not limited to moms only. There are dads who are lost and they need help. You know, we're a strange species as women sometimes. You know, when we get upset with our baby's father.
You say that like you got some experience, girl.
Listen. I got a whole book. But listen, that I'm telling you, I hate the baby daddy. You know, when you say baby daddy, you mad.
Yes.
So say the baby's father that I did get from one of my interns, baby's father. They need help too.
Right.
And what we do is we hit their pockets before we understand, you know, their heart. And
exactly.
So we provide resources to fathers as well.
Got it. Well, that's good. So I want to talk to you just a little bit more about Carol's Cottage when we come back from our next break.
Super.
This has been very good. I'm kind of heavy right now, just a little bit. Just in thinking about all of this. So it's, you know, I'm glad that you can smile about it, because my mind is just like, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And, you know, though much is given, much is required. So we got to be ready. We pray for it. And, you know, we got to be ready when God delivers.
That's right. Well, we're going to break now, and then we'll come right back and talk more about Carol's Cottage.
Super.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses. Real property management focus. The choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting. We make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions. We do all the work. You get all the credit. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
All right, so we are back. So talk to me about Carol's Cottage. Where did you get the name?
My mother.
That's
yes.
awesome.
Yes,
that's awesome.
My mother.
And so how does she feel about this?
Listen, let me tell you. She has no idea what's about to happen. All she knows is, you named this little place after me. But she has no idea of the impact that it's going to have for women, children, and fathers in the South Dallas area.
Wow. So that's coming soon. If people want to get familiar with Carol's Cottage to find out more information about it, are they able to do that now in the while we wait for the grand opening?
Yes, they are, because we are taking donations, monetary donations, of course. We also accept, you know, whatever moms and babies will need, such as tangible items, gift cards. Right now, we would like to have more of the gift cards and the monetary for storage purposes. Our storages are overflowing. And so right now, if there is a donation that needs to happen or somebody wants to volunteer, they can make those donations. We're actually doing a purse raffle. We're raffling 2 Michael Kors purses.
Nice.
And the raffle tickets are only $20.
Okay.
And so with that, we're looking to do the raffle on February the 12th for Valentine's. And so they'll get an amazing bonus basket for their $20 donation for the Michael Kors bags.
I love it. So November 2022, we can expect the grand opening, and I would like to be there. So make sure you keep me posted.
Absolutely.
On time and location. So moving into, we've talked about domestic violence in teens. We've talked about some of the stats. We've talked about resources. We've talked about Carol's Cottage. What are some of the other upcoming events that you've had that have impacted individuals from Lip Gloss for Love?
Great. So the month of February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And so every year since 2016, we have partnered with other organizations, and we have displayed our programs, Teens Against Dating Violence. And what we do, it's not a lecture. Our children are directly involved with the conversation. They know so much. It's
The
amazing
internet.
how they educate us on things that, we need. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's what happens. And so it's very exciting to see these young teens in their own personality understand what healthy and unhealthy relationships are like. And although, they don't agree with a lot of the behavior that happens, our reality TV shows have said this is acceptable. So we have in February, Forest Avenue Baptist Church is where we'll be partnering here in South Dallas, 2500 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard on the 12th of February from 10 to 1. We will work with teens, teaching them, just educating them about healthy relationships and, self-awareness, the signs of unhealthy relationships. The sooner you get out, the better your life will be. It doesn't mean you don't have to be friends. It just means you can't be girlfriend and boyfriend.
Right.
So, and then in the month of April, we have a new program. Well, it's actually not new. We renamed it. The program was Beauty for Ashes. And now it's Gloss Girl. And it's girls learning to obtain social safety, gaining insight of social skills. And so what we teach them is self-awareness, self-esteem, self-appreciation, loving the skin you're in, sex trafficking, social media safety, because we're facing this every single day. And our kids are suffering alone because they don't want their parents to take their cell phones. So they don't tell them what's happening in the back office of their cell phones, of how they're being abused and threatened. If you don't do this, I'm going to show that picture that you sent me. So we teach our kids, don't send anybody anything that you don't want the world to see. Today, tomorrow, forever. Don't send those things out because it's a blackmailing tool.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are the most two important programs, that we have for the first quarter. And our Teens Against Dating Violence is co-ed. It's girls and boys. And of course, our Gloss Girl program, is for girls. And so they get cool swag bags. They may get t-shirts. They may get a mirror. They'll get wristbands, ink pens, notebooks, so they can take it back to school and show it all off, which builds up the program because the kids now call it merch.
Yes. It's not swag anymore. It's
not swag anymore. It's merch.
Yes.
So I was so excited to be in the loop of our young people to say, "Oh, it's merch."
You are now hip, right?
Yes.
Is that even a word, or are we aging ourselves by saying that?
I'm busting because I know what merch means.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so every quarter, Charmaine, this is so exciting, with Glen Rose Day Learning Center here in the Pleasant Grove area. And what we do is we provide 300 purses to women in shelters that are filled with goodies, blankets, crossword puzzles, personal items, spiritual items, and they get this beautiful bag. And so if there's any locations that would like to have those bags, I need them to email me and let me know, how many they need, the name of the organization, who's the contact person, and we'll get those bags delivered to those ladies that they're providing services to.
I love it.
So that's every quarter. And then the month of August, we do our Walk About a Mile in My Shoes.
Yes.
And that event, it's not a program. That event is a community collaborative event. It is a fundraiser to ensure that the following year that our Teens Against Dating Violence and our Gloss Girl programs are financially funded, and that the operations of the organization stays alive. And so what we do is we walk in memory of those who have lost their lives due to domestic violence, as well as those who survive, like you and I. We need to be celebrated too, because we live to tell our story to save a life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So the Walk About a Mile event, where is that going to be this year? Do you know yet?
I don't know yet due to COVID, but because we do have amazing people who have gotten the vaccination and who are proactive in saving not just themselves, but the people around them. I have a very strategic plan to make this walk possible in person. If there's anybody who would like to volunteer and work on this plan with me, I am so excited to receive volunteers to make this happen because it is amazing. The people who will share their stories will have a photo shoot. They'll have a 20 by 16 photo on an easel, sit in a circle, and as people are walking, they can stop, share snacks and water or whatever in this walk, and just listen to some of the survival stories or stories that are not so, welcoming to hear, but it's reality. It's what we live in. Yeah.
Right.
And so we invite out as many other nonprofit organizations, small businesses, and families in the community to share in with this. And we also partner with Cherubim 237 Masonic Lodge to provide school supplies for the children in the South Dallas Fair Park community.
Wow, you are just doing amazing things out there in this community.
Yes.
I can remember when you first came to me and you said, this is what I'm going to do. I was so excited for you. And then to just see everything that you have done and been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I think I still have the little goodie bag that you gave, the very first goodie bag that you had. It wasn't for an event. It was like you were launching Lip Gloss for Love. And you gave me the goodie bag and it had some lip gloss in there. I was like, I still have that bag.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of everything that you've been able to accomplish and the passion that you have behind this. And then your insight to be able to deal with the teens.
Yeah.
Who will eventually become adults. I mean, we just don't think about it that way. So the way that this organization has evolved is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for you. What's next for Miss Rosalind Rayford? I know you are studying, you're a PhD student now. What? What's next?
Listen, what have I done to my life? I charge this to my mentor, Dr. Francois Booker Giroux. She has me in this school. So I finished my bachelor's degree from Texas College in Tyler, Texas in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, I earned my master's in social work.
Congratulations.
And she told me as I interned with her, she said, you have 1 year and then you need to be in a doctoral program. Well, I was so giddy about getting my master's degree. I was like, I told her everything was, sure.
Right.
And, lo and behold, if it wasn't in the will of God, I wouldn't be in this doctoral program because exactly a year later, I was in this doctoral program of leadership and change with Antioch University.
Wow.
And so leadership is my passion. And because change is so difficult, I just believe this is the lane, this is the mantle that, God has charged me with. And I'm here, I'm in it. I'm in my second year of this program. And oh, wow.
You're like, whew.
Yeah. Yeah, so Dr. Rayford coming soon.
All right, that's awesome. How exciting.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I stand in humility because it's not easy. I struggle every single day, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And the struggle is real. It's such a cliche. No, the struggle is real.
It's real.
Yeah. So I don't take it lightly when I'm having to write and express and, be a mom, be a wife, be a first lady, be an executive director, be a friend, it's a lot, but
you just do it. You don't think about it. You just do it.
That's what we do as women. We just do it.
Yeah.
We just do the dang on thing.
That's right. And don't ask any questions. Don't try to figure out how you're going to do it. You just do it.
Get on this train.
Yeah. I think that's really important because I think sometimes, people see someone like you and it's like, oh, you make it look easy. But really people don't understand the struggles that you have when, you have to deal with an issue or, when you're trying to pull everything together and it feels like everything is falling apart.
Right.
And
Right.
because we really don't talk about that kind of stuff. We just do it. We just take
Yeah.
care of what needs to be taken care of.
That's it. That's it. And
Right?
it's not always easy. I tell you.
My goodness, this has been awesome. We are I mean, we've talked about so much. We've discussed so many things. Is there anything that you would like to discuss, want to bring out, want to talk about to our listeners and our viewers that maybe we haven't talked about since we've been on?
You know what, Charmaine? This is very important to my heart. Is the after abortion care, the after abortion support. Is because we stand in silence when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've been programmed to do is go through the experience of the abortion, take the medication if they give it to us, and pretend that it never happened.
Wow.
So nobody talks about it. Nobody says how you're feeling. Nobody says, now let's get some counseling, that pre and post. It's a decision that's made for so many reasons, but that's a gift. If it wasn't supposed to be, God wouldn't have allowed it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And my oldest brother, who is now deceased, had to tell me that if God didn't meant for it to be, he wouldn't have allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
And so 28 years later, 29 years later, I still find myself apologizing to a kid that I would never see on earth.
Yeah.
But I do plan to see him in heaven. And the reason that I say him is because I serve an amazing God who allowed me to see him in a dream in 2017, I believe, 2015, 2017. God allowed me to see this kid in a dream in the current age that he was in. And so if these conversations are not had, we're going to have more issues to come in our girls and boys because it's compacted. I can't talk about it because it's taboo. It's embarrassing. Who does this? I was made to do it. I was forced to do it. And when they become an adult, it haunts them and they don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
And again, this is for our girls and our boys because it is my body as a female, and men don't have a say over what we do with our bodies in these instances, but he suffers. That's his seed. Give him an opportunity. That's his seed.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't even have it. So I told my son, I had a conversation with my son. He was very uncomfortable. And I said, son, be careful where you let those things go.
Yeah.
Because it's precious. And if that's your only one that God gave you, he has control over your seed, whether she allows it into the world or not.
Right.
And that's how we have to tell our little boys, the seeds that God gave you are special.
Yeah.
And somebody else at some point has control whether they allow the little you into the world or not.
Wow.
So that's a conversation definitely to be had across America.
Yes. Yes. And that, I mean, it's one of those things. There's so much going on, so much happening all around us and we're being taught and told so many different things.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we don't even think about. We think about the female and it's her body and it's, her decision, but we never even stop to think about the male perspective and what they might be suffering or going through. That is awesome. That's some awesome stuff because it's just so much.
Yeah.
It's just so much. And I mean, I'm at a loss for words, and that's hard for me because, I could talk, but I'm just at a loss for words because there's just so many things that we can talk about and so many different branches off of just the core of what we've talked about, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, so many different layers of things that need to be discussed. Well, I just want to say that I am so glad that you followed through with, the idea that God gave to you,
Yes.
and followed through with it. You were a good steward over what he gave you, and you are moving forward and progressing, and getting out into the community, and sharing and showing love. And I just appreciate you for being a resource in the community that people may or may not even have been aware of.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you were able to spend some time with me today to chat and just talk about, some of these hard discussions. I mean, they're really tough discussions to be had, but like you said, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. The struggle is real, and what people go through is real. And just having an awareness that these things are happening right before us, and we may or may not be paying attention. But I'm so glad that we were able to talk, so that, if there are listeners out there with teenagers, that they can now start to look into maybe being just a little bit more conscious. And if we were able to help just one person today with this conversation,
Absolutely.
that helps me. That helps my heart, because, man, just to think about all that's out there,
Yeah.
and what people are really going through.
Yeah. There's soon I'll create a Zoom conversation with parents who have teens, and sit in on the conversation. If you want to join in and join into the conversation, fine. If you just want to listen, fine. But we have to talk about what's facing our teens today. We have to talk about it. It's not new. It's just now the layers are being peeled back, and it's being voiced.
Yeah. And do we think that social media has a lot to do with why all of a sudden it's on the forefront, or why we're paying attention to it now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
And
before,
had it not be for the exposure of social media, a lot of the conversations that are being had will not be had, because it just takes somebody to say abortion, whether you're pro-life, pro-choice, pro-abortion, whatever you're pro, the conversation needs to be had. And when you're sitting at the table, don't just have a seat at the table, have a voice at the table. And if your voice at the table don't matter, get up and find another table with a different table cover and make your voice be heard.
Right. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation today. I'm, like I said, I'm heavy, because there's just so many things to just think about and talk about. And then just thinking about how many teenagers are really and truly suffering, and just the thought of that is just overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I appreciate you for doing what you are doing to bring awareness, number one, which is very important. And then to have the resources available.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you. We are running out of time just a little bit, but I just want to thank you for spending the time today. Did not realize that February was Teen Violence Awareness Month. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some more information about that. Let our listeners and our audience know how they can get a hold of you.
Hey, you can email me at Rosalind, ROSALIND, at lipgloss4, FOR, love. You can call me directly, 469-712-4474. You can also send a text. Visit our website, www.lipglossforlove.org, and I can be reached on all of those avenues. If you would like to volunteer, please, please, please. We love our volunteers. We need volunteers. So come and join the team of Lip Gloss for Love and Carol's Cottage.
Perfect. And then also the information is scrolling at the bottom as well. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I'm just excited. I'm just super excited about being here.
Thank you for joining us. And you were one of the first ones to sign up, as soon as we launch. So I'm very glad. And God's timing is amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's right at the end of January. We're leading right into Teen Violence Awareness Month. So I think that is awesome. I would love, love, love to get some more information so that I can help to spread the word as well.
Absolutely.
So definitely looking forward to that. And this has been an amazing show, Rosalind. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're
and
welcome.
Just wishing you and your organization all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Char.
Yes, and thank you. This has been Chit Chat with Char, where our mission is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate with people like Miss Rosalind Rayford, who is doing big things in our community to serve and love on the people that are in need. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us here again next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Thank you.